In my previous video, I made the lawsuit filed by Jason Kloepfer and Ali Mahler against the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Indians and the local sheriff and a whole bunch of other people. In that video, I didn't introduce any of my own commentary. It was just simply a straight read of the actual lawsuit. Tonight, I'm going to interpret what I read and critique the actual technical writing that I find. And nothing that I'm going to say is going to have any bearing on the veracity of their lawsuit. I think that they're going to win. I think that they have a very good case, and I certainly hope that they do. I think they've been terribly wrong here. So if you're not quite familiar with what took place, I'm going to go ahead and just play the clip of that night. Well, actually, really early in the morning, 5 o'clock, when Jason and Ollie were awakened by a SWAT team from the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Indians. Let's watch. So what you see there is a drone. The drone is roaming around and it's got a flashlight on it, okay? And what it is that they think that they have a hostage situation inside. So the drone is trying to get some surveillance coverage. That glitch you saw shows up periodically. I have no idea what causes it.
What's going on? Hello? Hello? Hello?
The drone woke them up. So now they're wondering what's going on. Remember, it's 5 o'clock in the morning.
What is going on?
What you heard was a loudspeaker from the outside. They're telling Jason and Ollie to come outside.
I don't know. Come outside, Jason. Step outside the door onto the deck and show us your hand.
Now remember, the SWAT team thinks that this is a hostage situation.
What is going on? What the fuck?
Jason has picked up the drone and he's carrying it in his right hand. Notice that they both have their hands up. That's not going to matter.
I'm shot! What the hell? I'm shot! He's shot! What the hell did you do? Fuck! I can't! I'm shot! I'm shot! He's shot! He's shot!
Okay, so I will stop it there. In one of my previous videos, I played a much longer clip and I went over in detail of what I thought. And I would suggest that you go watch that. I'll put a link in the description below. But what I want to do now is read their lawsuit against the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Indians and the local sheriff and interpret what I read and give you a little bit of a glimpse of what a professional technical writer does. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dredd to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dredd Show.
So I am now going to critique the lawsuit filed by Jason's and Ollie's lawyers. I'm not here to criticize them. Instead, I'm here to critique the lawsuit prepared by their lawyers. Now, what kind of service is this? Well, I do this from time to time for textbook publishers. And there are basically 4 levels of technical writing consulting that I can do. The first level, the top level, is authoring. Then it goes to editing, wordsmithing, and proofreading. Authoring is when I have to actually write content. Editing is when the content is there, but there need to be major changes to the actual prose. I mean, I may need to pull out certain sections, move them around. These are whole-scale changes. And then wordsmithing, essentially the content is there, but it's not written very smoothly. The prose is off. It's not necessarily very persuasive or not technically accurate. I can then go in there and massage the prose to make it sound better. And then proofreading, of course, is just changing spelling, grammar mistakes, and such. And by the way, I do charge for this $150 an hour. So if you have any lawyers out there that you know looking for people to help them write these briefs, send them my way. All right, so let's get on with it here. I'm going to use a mechanical voice for reading the text because, quite frankly, it takes me too long to do it myself.
Cherokee County Sheriff's deputies and the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indian Police tried to kill Jason Kloepfer and Allison Mahler in their own home without provocation or justification at 4:57 a.m. on December 13, 2022. Jason and Ollie have their own independent video footage that shows the officers illegally shot at both of them and then lied to frame Jason. They tried to cover it up. Without that independent video footage, these officers would have gotten away with it.
In the opening paragraph, you nail down your complaint. It's not that they tried to kill him. Rather, they almost did. And shot at both of them? They actually shot Jason. So right away, we kind of have some issues here with prose. It mentions that they tried to cover it up. But what is it? What is it that they tried to cover up? I mean, is it the fact that they shot Jason? No. Is it that they're trying to cover up their blame for it? Probably. You need to be clear. So I always suggest avoiding the word it unless it's absolutely clear what it refers to. I'm also not a fan of tried to kill, which implies a motive. I mean, police officers don't shoot people in the center body because they're trying to kill them. They're trying to stop the threat. And I don't think that laying down a motive here that the police officers showed up because they wanted to kill Jason is really going to work. I mean, you don't have to make that argument to win money in a lawsuit. I mean, this looks to me like an absurd level of negligence and poor judgment. And why not go after that? I don't know. And also, they didn't just try to kill him if that's what you're going to go with. They actually shot and nearly killed him. It also says these officers would have gotten away with it. Well, first of all, I hate the word gotten. I always try to avoid that. But keep in mind, this is presumptuous. They might still get away with it. I mean, are you assuming here that you're going to win this lawsuit? Nothing has been decided yet. The video footage is hardly independent. It's Jason's. This is important because there is no custody process for the video. It could have been edited. In fact, there are short sections about a half a second long that appear to be either cut or are glitches. And I don't think there's anything nefarious there whatsoever. I think it's pretty clear that those are glitches, but still, to claim that the video footage is independent is a bit much. So what needs to be stated? Here's what I would go with. Number one, the defendants shot Jason without justification, almost killing him and leaving him with life-changing physical injuries and trauma. They almost shot Ali without justification, leaving her with likewise trauma. They apparently fabricated a false story about a hostage situation to justify their claims. And then finally, number four, the claimants have solid video evidence that supports their claims. That's what I would have said in the opening paragraph.
Around 11 p.m. on December 12, 2022, a neighbor calls 911 and reports hearing noises from Jason's home. She claims she has video proof to support her complaints. Around 11:17 p.m., 3 Cherokee County Sheriff deputies enter Jason and Ali's property. The deputies do not bother to even ask her to see it. The deputies fail to investigate the neighbor's allegations for hours. She has no proof.
Ask her to see what? Don't know. And who is she? Ali or the neighbor? And if it's Ali, why is it only Ali? Why not Jason? Don't know. Noises? Were they gunshots? That's really important. I think that needs to be mentioned. If they're not gunshots, then you have an even stronger case as to why their shooting of Jason was unjustified. If they were, in fact, gunshots and not mentioning that, to me, that comes across as dishonest. Sort of like claiming that Gage Grosskreutz defended himself against Kyle Rittenhouse without mentioning that Gage had a gun on him. That kind of level of dishonesty. Did he admit to not bothering to ask her for the video? Where is the lawyer getting that information? Why isn't the neighbor named? And by the way, the judge could demand that the neighbor be named in the suit. Well, I guess that kind of depends on state law. I mean, Kyle Rittenhouse will tell you that one. He was not named in the original suit by Gage Grosskreutz and Anthony Huber, but the judge made the lawyers in that case name Kyle in the suit. It says she has no proof. This seems out of place given that we haven't even questioned the neighbor yet in the actual brief.
When they arrive, these deputies grab assault rifles and patrol the yard. They see no signs of any ongoing or past criminal activity. The lights are off. The blinds are pulled down. They cannot see inside. Nobody comes outside. They have no idea if Jason and Ollie are home. Jason and Ollie sleep through the night, inside their home. The deputies prop up a ladder and peep into the garage. They try looking through windows of the home and test the doors. They have no basis to remain there after a few minutes. Instead of leaving immediately when they have no legal authority to trespass, they inexplicably escalate the situation, patrolling the yard with long guns for hours. Despite seeing no evidence of crimes, they fabricate baseless stories of hostages and standoffs. They call their leadership and relay these stories.
It seems to me that the deputies are not sure what to do. They showed up, they've heard something about noises, nobody seems to be around. They don't want to go home because there could be a hostage situation, I suppose. But at the same time, they don't want to just start knocking on the door. I have a feeling that they have not been trained for this kind of protocol. The fact that they grabbed assault rifles to patrol the yard is of no consequence. Who cares what kind of rifles they grabbed? And of course, they have no legal authority to trespass. No one does. Trespassing is inherently illegal. So what they should have said was they had no legal authority to stay on the premises. Here's what I found odd. They patrolled the yard for hours? That's a long time to patrol a yard. What are you going to do for 5 hours? And this was a question I had initially that the lawsuit has cleared up. And that is, once the deputy showed up around 11 o'clock, maybe midnight, and couldn't find anything, did they stick around and wait for the SWAT officers to show up, or did they go home? And here it's pretty clear they stuck around, and they played around in the yard. I guess they were playing Yahtzee or poker or something for 5 hours. Amazing. Did they really escalate the situation? I mean, they're walking around in the yard. Jason and Ali are asleep, so I'm not sure that I would go along with that. That seems to be a bit of an exaggeration. Actually, fabricate a story of a standoff. If so, that would sink them beyond belief. I mean, you can make up a story about a hostage situation, right? But a standoff, that would take some doing. It's really, really hard to lie about something like a standoff. I don't like the word stories. I think that's poorly chosen. I think claims would be better. Also, if I'm the judge, I would want a little help with understanding how long they can legally remain on the premises. What is reasonable? I mean, do I have to look that up? I thought that was the job of the lawyers, to look up these things and inform the judge as to why they had to leave immediately. If they did. I don't know what the law is on that. Keep in mind, they did get a search warrant. So that might change things a little. Now, you might say, well, the search warrant was illegal, but whatever the case, they did get a search warrant. So I'm thinking they can stay on the property. I don't know.
When Sheriff Smith and his leadership team hear about his deputies loitering in Jason and Ali's yard without permission, they do not order them to leave. Instead, they double down on the errors and call the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians SWAT team to leave the reservation and occupy Jason and Ali's property in Cherokee County. Internal communications confirm that they have no idea if there is a hostage or barricaded subject situation.
I thought the sheriff was told stories about hostages and standoffs, but here it says that they have no idea of hostages or barricaded subjects. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy here. It's getting a little bit confusing. Let's be fair. The sheriff probably was woken out of a deep sleep. It's around midnight. He gets a call and they're claiming something about hostages or a standoff, maybe even. From his vantage point, he's not there. And I'm not sure at this point in time that he's done anything wrong. I mean, why would he order the deputies to leave if they've been told about a hostage situation? I mean, yes, it appears that Sheriff Smith and his entourage and his officers are culpable for wrongs they committed that night, but I don't think this is one of them. And by the way, double down is too informal. We don't double down, we perpetuate. And it's also unfair. Again, I'm not certain that the sheriff at this point here has done anything wrong.
Over the next 4 hours, midnight to 4 a.m., several other deputies, including most of the leadership, join the original 3 deputies in the yard as Jason and Ali sleep inside. If they really think Jason hurt Ali, they should find her immediately and get her medical attention. The video shows that they take no action to find Ali and ensure that she is not hurt or bleeding to death.
Okay, so some deputies have been on the premises for nearly 5 hours. That, to me, that's amazing. Of course, they're pulling overtime, so that might make the time go by a little faster. It says they should find her immediately. What are they expected to actually do? And I'm sure that some of you experts there on police activity should be able to weigh in on that. Bleeding to death is a bit much. Just say injured and in need of immediate medical attention.
Finally, around 2 a.m., the first deputy on the scene walks the approximately 5 minutes it takes to go speak to the neighbor to try to verify her report. The neighbor shows him video footage that does not support her allegations she made to 911.
It's hard to understand why the neighbor wasn't contacted earlier. Suppose that Jason and Ali left earlier. The neighbor might know that. So why aren't you going over there and asking her? Are they inside? What happened? This is really strange, if true. Earlier, it was stated the deputies did not bother to even ask her to see the video footage. Now, if I'm a judge, I'm confused. Did the deputies ask to see the video footage or not? And if they didn't, did she end up showing it to them anyway? I don't know. And what does the video footage show? I mean, there's nothing stated here. It just says that it does not show anything that indicates a hostage situation. But obviously the neighbor thought there was something on that video footage that the police needed to see. So what was it? Why isn't that told to us? Don't know.
At that point, the sheriff's department knows that the neighbor has no proof. Her original claims are false. As soon as the officers know that the neighbor's allegations are false, all the officers should immediately leave.
Of what? And she doesn't need proof. She just needs evidence to give them reasonably articulated suspicion that a hostage situation might be going on here. And who say they should immediately leave? I would suggest just stating that they do not leave immediately. Also, it doesn't say whether they immediately left. I mean, if the officers didn't leave, then say so. Don't just say, At this point, they should immediately leave because that leaves the question open. Well, did they? Again, this is the essence of technical writing. It's making sure that the other side understands clearly what you're trying to say.
While their siege was inappropriate, actually unlawful, up to that point, at least nobody has illegally shot at Jason and Ali by then. The story should end here with no lasting harm. Instead of fixing the mistakes, after learning the neighbor's claims are devoid of the proof the neighbor claims, Lieutenant Teasdale presents the original, now disproved, allegations to a magistrate. Lieutenant Teasdale swears an oath saying the neighbor's story is true and video evidence exists to prove it. That is false. Lieutenant Teasdale is at the Sheriff's Department in Murphy. He never visits the scene or speaks to the neighbor. He never even speaks with the deputy who views her video.
So in the first sentence, it ends, nobody has illegally shot at Jason and Ali by then. But that's past tense. This brief is written in the present tense, which is kind of odd, but okay, I guess maybe that's how they do it in the legal world. But at any rate, we have a problem here. It really should say, at least nobody has illegally shot at Jason and Ali so far. So Lieutenant Teasdale is not at the scene. He never speaks to the neighbor. He never speaks with the deputy who viewed the video. So where did he get his information? I don't know. And by the way, the first sentence says, while their siege was inappropriate, actually unlawful, why not just say unlawful? While their siege was unlawful up to that point, it's about conciseness. By the way, who is Lieutenant Teasdale? His name just pops up. There's no discussion about who this guy is. And if we're going to name Lieutenant Teasdale, why aren't we naming the magistrate? I mean, that should be well known. I doubt the oath. The oath probably doesn't include claims that video evidence is true. Rather, it probably says something on the order of, to the best of my knowledge. Yes, Lieutenant Teasdale's claims may be false, but did he know they were false? That is the big issue here.
Based on this false information, provided under oath by Lieutenant Teasdale, who has not verified the truth.
Yeah, we know. You just told us this. Okay, so that's enough for tonight. I'm going to finish up with part 2 tomorrow. That will take care of all of it. And like my video, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for part 2. It gets even wilder.